Kenywa.
Bwana Spika, ninasumbuka kwa sababu tayari wewe ulikuwa umefanya uamuzi kwa jambo hili. Jambo ambalo mswada ama karatasi iliyoletwa hapa na ndugu yangu mwanasheria Seneta Omogeni. Bwana Spika, hayo ndio mambo ambayo anakuambia ufanye uamuzi. Bwana Spika, wewe mwenyewe unajua ni wakati gani utafanya uamuzi, ni mambo magani utaangalia uweze kufanya uamuzi. Bwana Spika, hakuna mtu yoyote katika jumba hili anaweza kukushurutisha, kukuamrisha ama kukuambia chochote, kwa sababu wewe ndio una uwezo na una ujuzi wa kufanya ile kazi, Bwana Spika. Na kwa sababu Bwana Spika, tayari ulikuwa umefanya uamuzi na umeletewa barua ambayo wewe haujui imetoka wapi, lakini imesemekana tayari imeletwa siku ya leo, Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, wewe unapaswa kufanya uamuzi bila kuamrishwa na mtu yote. Lakini Bwana Spika, mimi kwangu nimekaa hapa, ninaona kana kwamba vile ambavyo Spika unaviongoza hii nyumba, kidogo mimi nina tashwishwi. Kwa sababu watu wanapoongea, nimemwona Senator wa Nairobi akifanya vile ambavyo inakubalika kisheria. Nikaona leo Senator wa kutoka Narok amekuwa mtulivu, Bwana Spika. Lakini na Senator wa Ambua amekuwa tulivu, Bwana Spika. Lakini mtu yoyote, kwa sababu ukitembea katika bunge zingine za duniani, ukienda kama ni South Africa, Afrika Kusini, uende Australia, uende Uingereza, si mambo ya kuongea katika bunge, watu wakubaliwa waongee, Bwana Spika. Lakini mtu akiongea kidogo, Bwana Spika, unamwambia utamfukuza. Bwana Spika, mimi na uoga kidogo, Bwana Spika, kwa sababu tumetembelea nchi zingine, Bwana Spika. Tumetembelea nchi zingine na tukaona vile ambavyo wanajadili. Kwanza nchi zile ambazo sisi wenyewe tumeziga, Bwana Spika. Na tunapojadili, Bwana Spika, tunakubaliwa mtu hata wakati mwingine kwa sababu ya ile jadhiba inakupanda, unapaswa kusema jambo ambalo unapaswa kusema. Lakini Bwana Spika, ikiwa utakuwa ni wa kutuogofya, kutustua, Bwana Spika, mijadala yetu itakuwa inachechemea, kwa sababu ukiangalia, Bwana Spika. Lakini Bwana Spika, ninakuomba wewe mwenyewe uamuzi ule ulikuwa umetoa, usimame na huo uamuzi, kwa sababu tumekaa wiki 3, Bwana Spika, bila hawa ndugu zangu wa upinzani. Hata wiki ya 4, Bwana Spika, ni sawa. Hata ya 5, Bwana Spika, ni sawa. Lakini wangoje wewe ufanye uamuzi wakati utakapotaka, kulingana na kanuni zetu za bunge hii. Bwana Spika, nashukuru.
Senator Mwenye.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna msemo wa Kiswahili unaosema nyani haoni umbile. Haoni umbile, yani nyani haoni umbo lake. Ningetumia lugha nyingine, lakini sio lugha ya kistaarabu. Na kusema swala hilo ni kwa
Order, Senators. Senator Faki is on a point of order, so you cannot again rise on a point of order.
Wewe Mheshimiwa Spika, anasema kwamba tumesikia kauli zilizotolewa na maseneta kadha akiwamo Senator Uroba ambaye anatoka hivi sasa. Na itakumbuka kwamba wiki 3 zilizopita Senator Uroba alikuwa hapa bungeni
Senator Cherangei
alikuwa hapa bungeni wakati
order, please,
ameingia katika ada zake. Na sisi kama maseneta, Mheshimiwa Spika, tuliheshimu na tukamvumulia kwa ile hali aliyokuwa nayo. Leo ni masikitiko, Mheshimiwa Spika, kwamba Senator Uroba anaweza kusimama katika bunge hili akakemea haki ya maseneta wa upinzani kudai haki zao. Mheshimiwa Spika, mambo yamezungumzwa mengi, Mheshimiwa Spika, na nimesikia pia kiongozi wa wengi akisema kwamba tunaharibu wakati wa bunge hili. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, haki ni haki. Haiwezekani kwamba haki zetu sisi zikataliwe katika bunge ambalo tumechaguliwa kuwakilisha watu wetu. Ikiwa sisi kama maseneta haki zetu zinakataliwa, je, wale ambao tunawakilisha itakuwa namna gani? Mheshimiwa Spika, ruling imeletwa mbele yako, na sasa nataka kukabidhi order ambayo imetolewa kuambatana na ruling hili ya koti. Mheshimiwa Spika, niruhusu Mheshimiwa Spika.
Honorable Senators, kindly let us not disrupt any processes.
Mheshimiwa Spika, nashangaa wakili kama Cherargei ambaye nimemfundisha mwenyewe hapa bungeni anatoaibisha, hajui kutofautisha.
Senator Faki,
yes.
Kindly wind up your thoughts on
Yes,
the point
yes.
of order, please.
Ndio namaliza Mheshimiwa Spika. Kuna tofauti ya hukumu, kuna tofauti ya ruling ambayo ni hukumu ambayo tribunal imetoa na amri ile ambayo imetolewa kutokuambatana na hiyo hukumu. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, tumeweza kukabidhi karatasi zote, zile stakabadhi zote ambazo Mheshimiwa Spika, tumeweza kukabidhi stakabadhi zote ambazo ni muhimu kuhusiana na swala hili. Tumetoa hukumu ambayo imesomwa jana na tumetoa amri ambayo imeambatana na hukumu hiyo. Kwa hivyo iliyobakia sasa ni wewe utoe uamuzi wako. Na singependa, kwa sababu kuna ndugu zetu wengine wametoka Mandera, Mheshimiwa Chute, wanakuja kufanya kazi hapa. Kwa hivyo tunaomba Mheshimiwa Spika uamuzi ukamilike.
Cherargei, you're out of order and I'm cautioning you. You proceed, you see the door.
Mheshimiwa Spika, namaliza. Tungeomba kwamba swala hili tuweze kulimaliza haraka ili tuone kwamba tunarejelea shughuli zetu za kawaida kama bunge la Seneti ya Jamhuri ya Kenya. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Nyutu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to the current debate. Mr. Speaker, sitting listening to my colleague senators, the frustration expressed by Senator Chute, the frustration expressed by Senator Gloria Oroba, Mr. Speaker, that for about 4 weeks we have not been able to conduct the business of this House in the way we should have been able to because of this matter of leadership on the minority side, Mr. Speaker. These are very valid concerns. Mr. Speaker, listening to you delivering your ruling, I do not think I heard you say that you are not going to rule in the favor of the minority side. I think the bone of contention, Mr. Speaker, is that you have not received communication from the tribunal in the way and form you should receive it. And so, Mr. Speaker, through you, I stand to urge our colleagues on the other side to exercise some patience, Mr. Speaker. Because I think it's just a matter of time, and if the documents they have tabled are authentic, that you are also going to receive your documents, Mr. Speaker, from the same offices. And so in the interest of Kenyans whom we are here to serve, Mr. Speaker, I would want to beseech our colleagues to just maybe give you a day or two so that in the meantime, we may continue dispensing the business of this House. Because, Mr. Speaker, some matters sometimes call for a middle ground. Sometimes I think we should not be like, we want to see which side wins against which side, Mr. Speaker. And so I want to rest my case there as again, I request our colleagues on the other side to exercise some patience and give you a day or two, Mr. Speaker, so that we can continue. In the meantime, you can continue with the business of this House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and that is my submission.
Honorable Senators, Can I have your attention, Honorable Senators? I've given a lot of room for quite a number of senators to prosecute their points of order. But it seems there's nothing new we expect, even if I'm to allow all of you to communicate. It's all surround one thing. Now, when the minority leader stood on a point of order, I made a ruling to the effect that the only way we can be persuaded by the submissions of the minority leader is when a ruling is tabled or an order is tabled. I made that ruling. Pursuant to that ruling, two senators rising on a point of order, one tabled the ruling, the other tabled the order in compliance with the ruling of the chair. That is commendable. Honorable Senators, this matter must be laid to rest. I will therefore seek your indulgence for not more than half an hour. I will allow a member of the Speaker's panel to take this chair as I retire to my office to do my communication and then move back here on the floor of the House, resume the chair, and deliver my communication. So, Honorable Haji.
Usirudi. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. It's deferred, isn't it?
Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
Senator Osotsi.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to make a statement on the issue of general topical concern, and this is on the demise of Mr. Francis Wangusi, MBS, the former Director General of the Kenya Communication Authority of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 52-1 to make a statement on the issue of general topical concern and national importance, namely the demise of Mr. Francis Wangusi, MBS, the former Director General of the Communication Authority of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is with deep sadness that I rise to mourn the death of Mr. Wangusi on the 7th of May 2023 in Nairobi Hospital. Mr. Wangusi was a man of many talents, but perhaps his greatest gift was his ability to connect with people from all walks of life. He was an exceptional leader in the ICT and telecommunication industry. His contribution to the development of the sector in Kenya, Africa, and globally at large cannot be overstated, Mr. Speaker. Francis Wangusi began his career in the telecommunication industry in 1988 when he joined the then Kenya Post and Telecommunication Corporation as an assistant engineer. He rose through the ranks to become the head of transmission department before being appointed the director of licensing and compliance at the newly formed Communication Authority of Kenya in the year 2000. Mr. Speaker, in 2012, Francis Wangusi was appointed as the Director General of the Communication Authority of Kenya, a position he held until his retirement in 2019. During his tenure, he played a crucial role in transforming not just the IT sector, but the telecommunication sector, overseeing the liberalization of the sector and the introduction of competition, which gave birth to Safaricom, Airtel, and the others, which led to increased investments, innovation, things like M-Pesa and others, and expansion of telecommunication services in this country. Francis Wangusi was a visionary leader who believed that access to information and communication technology was essential for socio-economic development. He worked tirelessly to ensure that the Kenya telecommunication sector was at the forefront of innovation and development, and his efforts did not go unnoticed. Under his leadership, Mr. Speaker, the country made significant strides in expanding access to affordable, reliable, and meaningful communication services, which had a positive impact on the lives of millions of Kenyans and Africans. Mr. Wangusi was a strong advocate of development of information and communication technology infrastructure as the former Director General of the Communication Authority of Kenya. Francis played a vital role in the transition from analog to digital television broadcasting, making Kenya one of the first African countries to embrace this new frontier and opening up the broadcast industry in profound ways. He was also instrumental in the rollout of the 4G mobile technology in Kenya, which revolutionized how Kenyans access and use the internet. Mr. Speaker, beyond his professional accomplishment, Francis was a man of great character. He was a kind, humble, and generous person who touched the lives of everyone he met. He was a mentor to many and a friend to all. His infectious smile, positive attitude, and unwavering dedication to his work and community inspired many. He was a man of integrity who lived his life with honesty, humility, and dedication, and inspired others to do the same. Mr. Speaker, as we mourn the loss of Francis Wangusi, let us also celebrate the many ways in which he touched our lives. He was a true champion for the people of Kenya and a beacon of hope for Africa in matters telecommunication. His legacy will live on through the countless individuals whose lives he touched and the impact he made on telecommunication industry in Kenya and beyond. As I wind up, Mr. Speaker, may Francis rest in peace. He will be deeply missed, but he will never be forgotten because of his contribution to the ICT and telecommunication sector. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I made this statement because this is a man I've known for long. As a practitioner in the ICT sector, I had to make this statement because many people outside there who are in this industry have given tribute to this great leader who happens to come from Bungoma, where my colleague, Senator Wakoli, comes from. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Olekina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand here today a very sad man. And I have to say that I've actually been caught by a shock because I didn't know that my good friend, Wangusi, had passed on. This is a man whom I had tremendous respect for because of his agility and dedication to servicing this country. Mr. Speaker, I'll remember Mr. Wangusi as a man who stood firm and fought every attempt by the government to try and take over the Communication Authority. Mr. Speaker, the fights that Mr. Wangusi fought, including challenging telecommunication companies like Safaricom, the fight that he fought when we were introducing the digital broadcast with the media houses is something that will never be forgotten. Mr. Speaker, as tears all through my eyes because of this sad moment, I just want to remind us here that anytime we serve here, we have to ask ourselves what will become of us the moment we leave this prestigious position that we serve. Mr. Speaker, I remember an appeal which was made by the family of the late Communication General, Mr. Wangusi, when his blood levels had gone down when he was fighting cancer and admitted at Nairobi Hospital. He was one of the most renowned scientists in this country. But after he served this country, you know, he disappeared into oblivious. We forgot him, and I think this is the time that we must remember him as we pay tribute and thank him for the service that he did or he gave to this country. I want to thank the distinguished senator from Vihiga, the chair of CPIC, Senator Tsotsi, for bringing that statement. And sometimes we think we know everything. Sometimes we think we're in the know and we read a lot. But I don't know how this one missed me. I want to tell the family that I'll be mourning with you because that man personally touched my life, personally. And I will remember him for the good work and his contribution in the telecommunication industry in this country. There are few, of course, controversy during his tenure, but I think they teach us a lot. You know, there are times when people were up in arms about gadgets which are out there to monitor communication between different people. But I think if there's one thing that I'll remember the most about the late Wangusi is the fact that he went there to serve Kenyans. He didn't care what his board, the decision the board made, even after he was sent on compulsory leave for 4 months, but he came back. And he said, I will not retire. I will not go home until a substantive replacement has been brought to take over this organization. That is a kind of agility and dedication to service that all of us must always practice. So, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of myself and the people of the great county of Narok, I want to send my sincere condolences and prayers to the family of the late Mr. Wangusi. And I hope that the good Lord will be able to receive his spirit and also reward him for the time that he served this country. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Senator Wafula.
Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa nafasi hii tunapoomboleza mwenzetu Mheshimiwa Wangusi. Wangusi anatoka eneo bunge la Sirisia, ana makazi eneo bunge la Kimilili na vile vile ana makazi eneo bunge la Kandui. Mheshimiwa Wangusi ukienda kule mashinani, wengi walikuwa wanamjua tu kama mzee Wangusi, kwa sababu alikuwa mpole, mzee mcheshi, hakuwa na maneno mengi ya kujigamba ama kutembea na maafisa wa polisi kuwatishia wananchi. Alikuwa kila mara mwaka unapoanza katika hafla za kitaifa alikuwa anawaalika watu katika makazi yake na kula nao na kunywa nao. Na watu wetu husema kwamba yule ambaye mnakaa naye na kunywa naye, si kwamba hauna kile anachokupa, lakini mnafurahia gumzo ama mazungumzo ambayo amekuitia kwake nyumbani. Sasa sisi kama wakaaji wa kaunti ya Bungoma tumempoteza mchapakazi ambaye kwangu mimi namlinganisha na aliyekuwa kiongozi wa taasisi ya kusimamia kura IEBC, Mheshimiwa Chebukati, kwa sababu ni watu wapole, watu ambao si rahisi ujue wanafikiria nini. Mtu ambaye unafikiria unamtisha, kumbe anakuangalia na kucheka sana, anakuambia my friend, bado hujanijua. Na ndio kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Tsotsi amesema hapa kwa kina kamba wakati huo walikuwa na mababe ama mafidhuli, wanabiashara ambao walikuwa wamejipanga kuteka nyara nchi hii kupitia teknolojia. Lakini Wangusi alisimama kidete. Aliwapa Wakenya nafasi ya kujiandaa kwa mfumo mpya wa mawasiliano. Ukiangalia vyombo vya habari ambavyo vimeenea nchini humo ni kwa sababu ya uongozi wa Mheshimiwa Wangusi. Unapoangalia siasa zilizokuwepo za Safaricom na Airtel na Telecom, Mheshimiwa Wangusi alisimama kidete na akawaambia kila kiwanda, kila mwanabiashara lazima atii sheria na afiki malengo ya serikali. Na mpaka sasa vita hivyo vilitulia na kila mtu anatafuta shilingi yake kwa haki. Sasa sisi kama watu wa Bungoma tumempoteza shupavu, tumempoteza kiongozi. Na hili ninalosema ni kurai serikali kwamba iwapo na wafanyikazi wamekufanyia kazi kwa muda mrefu, wako na tajriba ya hali ya juu, si vyema kuwatelekeza, kuwarudisha mashinani, ili hali weledi wao, historia yao na kumbukumbu za kazi zinahitajika kwa vizazi vijavyo. Sasa kwa familia ambayo naijua kibinafsi, viongozi wa kaunti ya Bungoma, wananchi wa kaunti ya Bungoma, tunasema pole. Mungu hutwaa na Mungu hupeana, na mimi naamini tutakutana kule paradiso, mji wa asali na maziwa. Tutakumbuka umbali tumetoka, na Mungu anapoenda Wangusi tupe muda zaidi, tuishi Kenya hii, tunyoroshe mambo, ili tutapokutana na Wangusi tutasema it has been a good journey. Mungu atuneemeshe na tufikie hatima ya mapenzi yake. Kwa hayo mengi, Mheshimiwa Spika, nashukuru kwa nafasi hii.
Honorable Senators, I interrupt the proceedings to make a communication on visiting teachers and students from Matiang'i Boys High School in Meru County. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon a visiting delegation from Matiang'i Boys High School in Tigania West Constituency, Meru County. The delegation comprises 6 teachers and 117 students who are in the Senate for a one-day study visit. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Thank you. Senator Kisang, you can continue with the contribution. Sorry, hold on, Senator Kisang. I didn't see the Senator of Meru, that's why I jumped the queue.
I'm married in Meru.
Okay, let's
so
allow
still...
Senator Tabitha to make a welcoming remark.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to welcome the students from Meru County, because Meru is also my home. That's where I'm married. I'm happy to see the good students that are here. Feel welcomed. This house is called the Upper House, that is the Senate. As you sit here, we are the senators. Your senator, your elected senator is called Senator Kathuri, Murungi Kathuri. He is the deputy speaker also of the Senate. We also have members of parliament who actually sit on the other side. And as I said yesterday to the students of Nairobi, because I'm nominated under Nairobi, I come from Ukambani and I'm just the face of, Kenya. Now, always what I like to share with you as you go back, we have 2 books that actually guide us. We have the standing orders. These are the in-house rules. The same way in school, you have rules and the regulations, the type of uniform that you're supposed to wear. We also have the Constitution. In Swahili, it's called Katiba. That is what governs us. That is where the rules and the laws are. We also have the head of the house who's the speaker, the way you have the head teacher who's your boss in that institution. So mine is to tell you to keep working hard, pull up your socks completely. You can also be in this house at any one time in future. Listen to your teachers, listen to your parents, and do your best, shine. God bless you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Most welcome. Senator Kisang, please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I was going to...
Sorry, Kisang. What is your point order, Senator of Homa Bay?
Mr. Speaker, I have observed that certain traditions of the House are being violated. It is our tradition to welcome visitors, and the visitors sit in the gallery as directed by the Speaker. But when members are contributing and welcoming the visitors, we tend to speak directly to them. The tradition of Parliament is that we address the chair, and any advice should be through the chair. And if we want to provide advice directly to the visitors, we can always retreat with them to the restaurant or outside. That is the correct tradition of Parliament, and I think if we don't discuss it, Mr. Speaker, then it shall become common practice. It happens in all other parliaments that we go to, that you do not speak directly to persons sitting at the gallery. I thought that that was important to sanitize proceedings of this House.
Thank you very much, Senator Kajwang. I guess all senators stand guided. Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Also, I want to extend a warm welcome to the students from Meru on behalf of the Senator for Meru, Honorable Kathuri. We were together in National Assembly for 10 years and is our Deputy Speaker. Welcome and enjoy your stay here in Punge, in Parliament. And as you study, it is also important to tell you that, you know, to reach this level, what is very important is discipline. So get disciplined, work hard in your studies, and you might find yourselves here in the future. Honorable Speaker, secondly, I want to take this opportunity on my own behalf, on behalf of Elgeyo-Marakwet County and the people of Kenya, to send my condolences to the family of Francis Wangusi, who was the Director General for CA, Communication Authority of Kenya, for over 10 years. 9 years, actually. I knew Wangusi as a close friend. We worked together for 10 years when I was in National Assembly as a member of ICT Committee and also as a chair of ICT Committee from 2017 to 2021 before we were fired. Honorable Speaker, Wangusi was a very smart scientist, and he was employed as a trainee in the former Kenya Post and Telecommunication Commission and rose from the ranks up to the Director General level, and he saw the sector moving from 1G, 2G, 3G, up to the current level where we are now talking about 5G, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Wangusi was quiet, he was humble, he was not corrupt. He actually, by the time he retired at the age of 60, he was still living in a corporation house. In fact, I saw there was an issue where Communication Authority almost forced him out of the house, but thank God, I think he went to God, and then he stayed in the house for close to 6 months before he moved to his own house in Bogani Road in Karen. Honorable Speaker, Wangusi did a lot for this country. It's only that it's unfortunate sometimes those who work hard and they are not corrupt, they are not rewarded in the society. I hope the current system, the Kenya Kwanza, which I know it's a very good government, they reward the loyal and hardworking citizens. They'll take care of Wangusi's children and reward, if possible, pick one of the child who has graduated and be employed, even if it is not Communication Authority of Kenya, but in the sector, because he contributed a lot. I remember 2018, 2019, we had an inquiry into the telecommunications subsector because there was a lot of monopoly. and we did an inquiry. Wangusi stood with us, and the telecommunications sector was compelled to use and share towers. That is why you saw the cost of communication came down, especially in 7 regions of our country where network was still very poor, in the counties of Ishola and the northern counties of Kenya, including Turkana. And the 4 major telecommunication operators were forced to share towers. Our people can be rich. Honorable Speaker, may the Almighty Lord rest Wangusi's soul in eternal peace, give the family peace, strength, and acceptance during this difficult time. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Nyamu, your statement. Okay, if there's no statement. What's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I'm looking at the order paper for today, and on order number 7, it says statements as listed in the appendix. But there's no appendix to the order paper that lists the statements, at least the one that I'm looking at electronically. And that's important, Mr. Speaker, so that it allows members to anticipate the business that will be before the House, and where you have an interest, you can prepare yourself to make a contribution. Mr. Speaker, would it be in order for the House to be guided on where that appendix is? And if it is not there, then perhaps we should not proceed with the statements, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kajwang, the appendix is on page 143 on the order paper. Page 143, number 3, statements.
Mr. Speaker, the electronic order paper that I'm looking at before me ends at page 144. And I think that's why I raised that concern. And if we don't address such small things, Mr. Speaker, it is possible one day that a speaker sitting on that chair will not be as civilized as you are, Mr. Speaker, will not be as disciplined as you are, and it would be very possible that business can be sneaked before the House, business that has not been processed by the House Business Committee. So maybe the clerks can amend that so that we can get up to page 146 in the electronic version of the order paper.
Thank you. What's your point of order, Senator Mandago?
Conduct of Senator Karen Nyamu, who approaches the seat of the chair without bowing. Mr. Speaker, I think it is becoming increasingly dangerous that the traditions of the House are being violated. And this has an impact on the image of the Senate. Mr. Speaker, I think it is imperative that all senators stick to the standing orders and to the rules of the House, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator, for bringing that to my attention. I think we'll move to the next statement by Senator Chair, Roads and Transport.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise to give a statement pursuant to Standing Order 56(1)(a) that provides that a chairperson of a committee may make a statement relating to legislative business before the committee. Mr. Speaker, sir, pursuant to the above standing order, I wish to issue a statement, a status report on the consideration of a public petition regarding public transport in Lake Victoria between Fangano Island in Suba Central Sub-County and Bita. The petition was presented before the Senate on 18th October 2022 by the Senator Moses Kajwang, MP Senator for Homa Bay County, on behalf of Mr. Daniel Rakoro and other residents. Mr. Speaker, sir, in accordance with Standing Order 238, The petition was subsequently referred to the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation, and Housing for consideration and reporting back to this House, as well as to the petitioners. The quoted standing order requires the committee within 60 days to respond to the petitioner by way of a report addressed to the petitioner and laid on the table of the Senate. Mr. Speaker, sir, upon committal of this petition to the committee adopted a work plan for consideration of the petition, and in accordance with this work plan, proceeded to meet with the petitioners on Tuesday, 8th November 2022. During the meeting, Mr. Speaker, the committee engaged the petitioners on the contents of the petition and the prayers that they sought to be addressed by the committee. Mr. Speaker, sir, among the prayers by the petitioners was that the committee visit the respective island to ascertain the suffering and the challenges experienced by the people. In this respect, the committee scheduled a visit to Homa Bay County from 9th and 10th March 2023. However, Mr. Speaker, the area senator, Senator Moses Kajwang, who is also a member of the committee, requested for a postponement of the visit to 17th and 18th of March 2023. The committee considered the request and granted it. The committee was then prepared to visit the county in a bid to conclude its consideration of the petition and table its report before this House. However, on the 14th March 2023, the committee was requested to postpone the scheduled visit to Homa Bay County. Mr. Speaker, sir, the reason given for this postponement were that on the date of the scheduled visit, there were reports of planned political demonstrations and protests expected in the county of Homa Bay. Subsequently, due to the uncertainty of the alleged planned demonstrations and protests in the area, the committee was forced to indefinitely postpone the visit. Mr. Speaker, sir, while the committee appreciates the importance of the input of the area senator, also being the senator who presented the petition on behalf of the residents of Homa Bay County, these regular postponements are now derailing the committee's efforts to conclude this matter in accordance with Standing Order 238 and for the benefit of the petitioners. Mr. Speaker, sir, despite the uncertainties surrounding the planned visit to Homa Bay County, I wish to report that the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing remains committed to concluding its consideration of this petition and will proceed to table its report before the Senate. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kajwang, what is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the statement by the chair. Of events relating to this petition that I presented to this House on behalf of the residents of Mfangano Island, the residents of Takawiri, the residents of Remba, and the residents of the other islands who have been disenfranchised since independence due to lack of a public ferry. Mr. Speaker, when I presented that petition, I believed that the Senate would be in a position to deliberate on the matter in a bipartisan manner that is shielded from the politics of the day that is going on outside this House. Mr. Speaker, the chair has noted that there have been two postponements. There was a scheduled visit last week and a scheduled visit that was to begin this Friday. Mr. Speaker, it is true indeed that having spoken with the County Commissioner of Homa Bay County, he indicated to me that he had received an application by Bunge la Wananchi in Homa Bay of a planned demonstration in line with the constitutional rights of Bunge la Wananchi this Friday. Mr. Speaker, the decision I had to make was whether to allow senators to be in Homa Bay in a convoy of 10+ black Land Cruisers and Prados on a day when I know there are going to be protests and demos. Mr. Speaker, it is my conviction that my request to the Roads Committee and to the chair of the Roads Committee was done in good faith, and it is not meant to defeat or to derail the activities of the committee. Mr. Speaker, I take exception on two things. One, I'm a member of the Roads Committee. Upon my request being put to the chair, we ought to have deliberated as a committee and made a resolution. Mr. Speaker, I've been a chair in this House for a long time. I don't think this is how we should be prosecuting the business of committees. We should deliberate as members of a committee, take a decision as members of a committee. If there's a postponement, because what I needed to do was just to make the request, and it was upon the members to make that consideration. Mr. Speaker, I take exception that this matter has found its way on the floor of the House without the committee having deliberated upon it. But I believe that, Mr. Speaker, I'm on a point of order. I believe that, Mr. Speaker, that ultimately what we are pursuing is justice for the residents of the islands. And even though the 60-day period has elapsed, Mr. Speaker, just last week we had a liaison committee meeting where we reflected as chairs on the inadequacy of the 60 days provided by the standing orders. And we agreed that it was important that going forward, we provide adequate time for consideration of these petitions. Mr. Speaker, I conclude by saying that I would like the distinguished senator for Kiambu to visit Homa Bay on a day when the political climate is not foul and is not poisoned. I would like my distinguished committee members in the Roads Committee to come to Homa Bay, to be able to appreciate the beauty, the potential, and to be able to sit down with the people of Homa Bay in a candid conversation that is aimed at addressing some of the social and economic injustices that they face. Mr. Speaker, probably when we go back to the Roads Committee, we will discuss as a committee, because the postponement is not indefinite. And I believe that we can find an appropriate day so that we can serve justice to the people of Mfangano. I have reached out to the petitioners, Mr. Speaker, and they are in agreement with me as their senator that this Friday and Saturday will not be the best day for the Senate to come and visit Homa Bay. So there is no malice, there is no intention to defeat, there is no intention to derail the activities of the committee, and I hope that the good chair and the senator for Kiambu, if we would have spent a few minutes before coming to the floor, we would not have given the impression that the senator for Homa Bay is out to derail the activities of the Roads Committee.
Before I take any point of orders, I would like the following senators to undo their button of intervention, because it seems to be perpetually hanging on the screen. Senator Manzo Daniel Kitonga, undo your button. No, it has been there for long. First undo it. Wamatinga Wahome, undo your button. Okay, these are new requests. So I'll take a point of order from Olekina Ledama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, petitions are ways where Kenyans can be able to get some form of justice. And this House pronounces itself through either motions, bills, or at least when we retreat in committees to interrogate, as per the Constitution, matters that are brought before us. Mr. Speaker, I've listened to both the chair of Roads, and I've also listened to the chair of PAC, Senator Moses Otieno, who brought the petition on behalf of the petitioners. Mine is to beseech the Transport Committee, and also through your guidance. And I know that some of these issues are designed, or rather defined by our standing orders. But this House last passed a motion that had been time-barred because of various reasons. I think the reasons that have been given are reasons which are very valid. And I'd like to ask you, Mr. Speaker, even though this matter is expressly provided for in the standing order, in terms of the duration, where a petition should be investigated and a report tabled, I want to invite you, Mr. Speaker, to use your wisdom, apply standing order number 1 as well, and because of the prevailing circumstances, today, Mr. Speaker, what was happening in Kisumu, no one would want that to happen to themselves. And I think it was very wise and logical for the Senator of Homa Bay to try and postpone, because if the people of Homa Bay would have seen a huge convoy of about 6 or 7 or 10 SUVs, they would have actually gone after them. So I think it is wise, as we try to balance our standing orders, our rules of engagement, I would like to beseech and request you, Mr. Speaker, to maybe give some more time. If we could be able to do that for a matter which is expressly provided for in the Constitution, what about matters which are provided for in our standing order? So 60 days may be, because what I'm afraid of, Mr. Speaker, is that this matter will also find itself again back here, will spend more taxpayers' money if this matter is reintroduced afresh by the same petitioners. So I'd like to request that you find it within yourself to extend the time when the Roads Committee can be able to table the finding of the petition, have the chairperson engage with the sponsor of the petition, so that at the time when it is convenient and a time when it will be peaceful on the road, for them to be able to visit that area, to visit Fangano Islands, and actually try to give justice to those people. So, Mr. Speaker, I know there's an issue of statute of limitation, the timelines, but if we can extend the budget policy statement decision, I think this other issue which is affecting Kenyans can also be extended. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Lelegwe, what's your point of order?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I was not intending to raise on a point of order, but when Senator Otieno Kajang was giving his submissions or the response to the statement raised by the chair, I indicated that I wanted to inform him that this House is guided by the standing orders, the laws, and also the communications from the chair. And Honorable Speaker, when you gave this committee go ahead to deliberate on that petition, we had a limited time to look at that petition, and which the senator has requested more than twice to postpone this matter, and the committee was ready. The chair did the right thing to communicate to the House through Standing Order 56, and which is the report that is deliberated, the statement that was deliberated by the committee today. So the senator, maybe he was not able to attend the meeting, and in the agenda list of our deliberation as a committee today, this morning, this matter was discussed extensively, and a decision was reached that the chair communicates this decision by the committee so that the chair can give guidance, because time is of essence when we consider petitions to the committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Boni Kalwale, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, it's very unfortunate. In the Senate Business Committee, we've been urging that statements that have overstayed in committees should be brought to the House. We never knew that the chair of transport was going through this kind of frustration. Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate the chair for being candid and disclosing, risking the possibility that he would be cited for attempting to discuss a senator without a substantive motion. Mr. Speaker, it is now clear that some Mr. Speaker, sir, it is now clear that some leaders in this country, in the hope that they'll walk the journey of adventure, will zone off this country. So that when you're going to certain parts of this country, you have this feeling that I'm away from Kenya or I'm away from home. Mr. Speaker, the senator of Homa Bay is not a security officer. If there were security challenges in that area, the security organs would have alerted Parliament and discouraged Parliament from sending the committee to that place. Mr. Speaker, I say this in all honesty. I personally, Mr. Speaker, was in Homa Bay to mourn with my younger brother when my former colleague Otieno Kajwang died. And my brother will know that when he brought this statement, I wrote on the statement because I know the importance of that petition. Mr. Speaker, I'm risking pointing a finger at my colleague, knowing that even as late as today, the Deputy Governor of Kisumu, the Honorable Matthew Owili, has assembled youth who have stormed a function chaired by, Mr. Speaker, I'm on a point of order. You'll speak. I'm not discussing you. I'm not discussing Owili. I'm stating a fact. Take it easy. This pride of yours will take you nowhere. Kenya is too big. Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir.
Continue, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the head of the Communications Authority presiding over a World Bank Food Awareness Day, his function has been attacked by the Deputy Governor who pushed their youth so that it looks, and he was saying, we are preparing for Monday. They want to give the impression, Mr. Speaker, that that part of Kenya is not governable. It is a lie, and to suffer the consequences of this misadventure, this petition should be dismissed. We want to spend time carrying out serious business. And I want to appeal to leaders from this region that they should give the people of that region an opportunity to enjoy government services. Now you can speak.
Wait, I'll give an opportunity to everyone to speak. I think I have everybody has requested on a point of order, so let's hear on everybody. Senator Nderitu.
Bwana Spika, nashukuru kwa kunipa fursa. Na mimi ni mwanakamati wa kamati ya usafiri na mawasiliano, Bwana Spika. Na ni vizuri, Bwana Spika,
Senators, can we please hear the speaker to... Senators, order, senators. Senators, order. Senators. Senators, please take your seat. Senator Kajwang, please take your seat. Senators, please let us hear. Senators, Majority Whip. Majority Whip. Majority Whip. Majority Whip. Majority Whip. Senator Eddy, and Majority Whip. I will give an opportunity to everyone to make their point of order. So please, let us hear Senator Nderitu so that he can finish. Senator Sifuna. Senator Kajwang, I'll give. Senator Kajwang, I see you have made a request. to make a point of order. I will give you an opportunity so that you can reply to him. So please let us allow Senator Nderitu to finish so that I can give other senators an opportunity to also make their point. Senator Nderitu, please.
Bwana Spika, ukisoma kitabu Bwana Spika, ni vizuri julikane ya kwamba viongozi ama mashujaa huchipuka wakati kuna janga, na wakati huu kuna janga. Bwana Spika, nilikuwa nikisema ya kwamba mimi ni mmoja wa kamati hii ya uchukuzi na mawasiliano. Bwana Spika, tulipata ujumbe kutoka kwa senator wa kutoka Homa Bay akisema ya kwamba dua lile ambalo lilikuwa limeombwa, na sisi tulikuwa tumejitayarisha kuendelea na haya maneno kwa sababu ya muda uliowekwa, lakini akatuambia kunaweza kuwa na mvutano, vurugu, na ni vizuri kwa sababu hakutaka tujipate katika hali ya sintofahamu wakati tutakapofika huko. Lakini Bwana Spika, tumekuwa kila wakati tukisema kwamba tutatembea pale, kunakuwa na sababu ambayo inatuzuia kufanya kazi yetu. Bwana Spika, hata ijapokuwa nasema kutakuwa na maandamano, Bwana Spika, na nataka kukubaliana na kiranja walio wengi ya kwamba seneta rafiki yangu Kajwang', yeye si afisa wa usalama, yeye hafanyi katika idara ile. Kwa hivyo na ijulikane wazi, hakuna seneta yoyote hawezi kuzuia kufanya kazi yake ya uangalizi na mtu yoyote. Na kumbuka ya kwamba Bwana Spika, seneti iliyopita waziri wa usalama Matiang'i alikuwa amesema ya kwamba hatutakwenda Laikipia kwa sababu kuna hali ya kutokuwa na usalama na hatupaswi kwenda huko. Lakini Bwana Spika, tukasema liwalo na liwe, na mkumbuka, nataka kumpongeza seneta Wetangula. Alisema ya kwamba seneta hawezi zuiwa kufanya kazi yake, hata kwenda kuangalia zile sehemu ambazo zina shida ni kazi yake. Bwana Kajwang', mimi nilitaka twende huko Mbita, Mfangano, tuone kama maandamano yamefanywa kama vile ambavyo ungelivyotaka. Hiyo ni kazi yetu Bwana Spika, kwa sababu tunataka kwenda kufanya kazi yetu na hatuwezi tukazuiwa. Na Bwana Spika, nataka kumpongeza mwenyekiti kwa sababu kama hatungelifanya hiyo kazi yetu na muda unaendelea kuyoyoma, tungekuja sisi kama kamati kukemewa na kukejeliwa ya kwamba tufanye kazi yetu. Mwenyekiti wetu alikuja kusema ya kwamba muda uliotupa Bwana Spika, kwa sababu ulituambia tuna siku 60 na muda unaendelea kuyoyoma Bwana Spika, hatuwezi kaa kitako alafu baada tunapokuja hapa katika seneti hii kuzomewa, hapo ndio wakati tunasema ya kwamba seneta alituambia kungekuwa na mvurugu na mvurutano, kwa sababu yeye alituambia katika mtandao wa kamiti yetu. Kwa hivyo vile mwenyekiti alikuwa akifanya ni vile ambavyo inapaswa kufanywa Bwana Spika, na tumekuwa tukisema hayo. Na nakumbuka Senator Kajwang' akinipongeza nilipokuwa mwenyekiti wa kamati ya ugatuzi, ya kuniambia nilikuwa kila wakati naleta ripoti ya vile kamati inavyoendelea. Lakini Bwana Spika, tulipokuwa tukiwasiliana katika ile kamati Bwana Spika, nakumbuka Kajwang' mwenyewe hakuwa katika kamati, na kulingana na vile anavyosema Bwana Spika ya kwamba hakujulishwa na hakuulizwa, hiyo kwa niaba ya kamati yetu, kwa sababu mimi ni mwana kamati, nachukua ile jukumu, na kwa niaba hiyo naomba msamaha, kwa sababu kuomba msamaha haionyeshi unyonge, inaonyesha uongozi Bwana Spika. Na ni vizuri wakati mwingine sisi kama viongozi kukubali makosa. Ikiwa tumefanya makosa, tunaomba msamaha Bwana Spika, haionyeshi unyonge, na ndio tuweze kuendelea Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo dua lile Bwana Spika, dua lile Bwana Spika.
Senator Nderitu, please conclude.
Bwana Spika, nizuie kutoka kwa huyu kiongozi. Bwana Spika, nizuie, sijamaliza Bwana Spika.
Senator Eddie,
Bwana Spika,
you will get an opportunity, let him conclude.
Bwana Spika,
please.
nizuie.
Senator Eddie, you will speak. Can he conclude? He's on a point of order and you want to make a point of order. So let him conclude. What is it, point of information? Is it a point of information?
Bwana Spika, Bwana Spika,
conclude, Senator
ninaweza kuongea kuhusu seneta aliyoko katika nyumba hii kwa sababu ana fursa ya kujitetea, Bwana Spika. Yule ambayo siwezi kumuongea Bwana Spika, si kuongea kwake kwa ubaya, ni mwenye kamati. Nikasema Bwana Spika, huyu seneta ni mgeni, Bwana Spika, hana uzoefu Bwana Spika wa kujua sheria, kanuni za bunge. Bwana Spika, najua hana uzoefu wa kujua kanuni za bunge. Bwana Spika, chukua fursa hii upeleke hawa maseneta wageni ambao hana uzoefu, Bwana Spika. Ninasema vizuri, hana uzoefu. Na ni vizuri julikane kwa sababu hana uzoefu, Bwana Spika. Kwa sababu ile naongea kuhusu, haongei kwa sababu anajua sheria, anazifahamu na anazimenya. Lakini ukitaka kujua, Bwana Spika, ukitaka kujua ya kwamba debe tupu, Bwana Spika, haliwachi kutika debe tupu, Bwana Spika. Na ndiposa sasa unasikia debe tupu bado linaendelea kutika, Bwana Spika. Na ni vizuri tuseme ukweli, Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, muangalie Seneta Kajwang tunayeongea kuhusu. Amenyamaza tu kwa sababu ananielewa, Bwana Spika.
Umemaliza,
Bwana Spika, ninasema hivi Bwana Spika, ya kwamba tunamuomba msamaha kwa sababu hakujulishwa. Mimi nikiwa kama mwanakamati na nikasema vizuri. Na Bwana Spika, mimi niko katika hoja ya nidhamu, Bwana Spika. Niko kwa hoja ya nidhamu, Bwana Spika.
Senator Nderitu.
Na Bwana Spika, kwa hivyo
Senator Nderitu, nakuomba umalize.
Okay, kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, mimi ninasema hivi. Mwenyekiti wa kamati amefanya vilivyo kwa kuleta ripoti hii ndio iweze kujulikana wazi ya kwamba sababu ya sisi kama kamati ya kutoweza kwenda hapo mfangano. Hiyo ndio sababu. Na tena tumeomba msamaha kwa seneta. Lakini Bwana Spika,
Asante Senator. Senators, please allow me. Senator Eddie, please sit down. Please allow me to call on Senator Kajwang to make his point of order because he has been mentioned several times. I am jumping the queue for that purpose.
Mr. Speaker, I wish that debate on this matter could be truncated and terminated. Because, Mr. Speaker, I think this is the wrong use of the standing orders. My biggest reservation, even though Senator Lelegwe has informed me there was a meeting in the morning, which I apologize I did not attend. When a chair comes to this House and makes a statement that mentions adversely a fellow senator, the courtesy is to alert the senator that I am going to read a statement, and that statement you have been mentioned, and this is the content of the statement. He does not have to do it, but that is the courtesy that has guided this House for the last 10 years. Mr. Speaker, my request to the chair of the Roads Committee needed one of two answers, yes or no. If the chair feels I am not well trained in matters of security and intelligence, then he had the option of taking the committee to Homa Bay. But if the chair thinks that the views of the local senator and the person who brought the petition before the House deserve some consideration, Mr. Speaker, I would have expected that the chair would have engaged me and would have told me that I'll be reporting to the House on this matter, and this is a kind of prayer that I'm going to make. And Mr. Speaker, I have no problem in the report that the chair has given the House. My biggest concern is at the conclusion of that report, that my constant postponements, this is the second time, and Mr. Speaker, Senator Lelegwe says more than twice, this is the second time I am requesting the committee to consider going to Homa Bay. Mr. Speaker, if the chair believes that my concerns are idle, if the chair believes that my briefs around intelligence and assessment of the political situation in Homa Bay this week is irrelevant, Mr. Speaker, then let the chair take the committee to Homa Bay. Let the chair take the committee to Mfangano. In fact, Mr. Speaker, this matter should have never come to the floor of the House to be discussed in this manner. And Mr. Speaker, in as much as my colleagues want to comment on this, I want to urge you to rule so that we close this matter and we don't fall into the trap of discussing a fellow senator adversely without notification, Mr. Speaker.
Senators, should I follow seniority and allow Senator Mazayo to make a point of order?
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, jambo la kwanza, mimi pia ni memba wa hiyo kamati, na hiyo habari ilipoletwa, mtu wa kwanza kupinga kusema ya kwamba hatuwezi kuruhusu kumuongea mwenzetu ambaye ni senator ndani ya kamati, ikiwa tuko pale na members of staff na watu wengine kutoka sehemu zingine za Kenya. Bwana Spika, ni jambo la kusikitisha sana. Bwana Lelegwe alikuwa hapo na Bwana Kinyua alikuwa hapo, au maseneta wenzangu.
Senator Mazayo, would you like to be informed by Senator Lelegwe?
No, I don't want to be informed. Sitaki kujulishwa.
Continue.
Kwa hiyo utasema, utapata wakati wako, utasema kama mimi nikiongea fanya heshima. Yeah. Bwana Spika, katika kanuni zetu za kudumu, kipengele cha 101 katika sheria ya 4, katika sheria ya 4 inasema ya kwamba, na pengine Bwana Spika ungenisikiza vizuri, seneta hatatoa kisingizio. Nataka unisikize vizuri Bwana Spika. Seneta hatatoa kisingizio kuhusu seneta mwingine yeyote au bunge wa wabunge la taifa, isipokuwa kwa hoja mahususan ambayo arifa yake imetolewa angalau siku 3 kabla ya hoja ya kujadili mwenendo wa mbunge au seneta huyo. Bwana Spika, ingekuwa heshima yani maseneta saa ile mimi nakuongea na wewe, wao wanaingia katikati ili usisikize vile mimi nasema. Kanuni hizi zetu ni kanuni za kudumu, na hizi kanuni ndio tunazofuata. Lakini leo maajabu ni kwamba mimi nilipopinga kwamba hatuwezi kuongea habari ya Kajwang', mwenyekiti aliyekuwa ameketi hapo kwa saa hiyo, hata shahidi akiwa ni Lelegwe na shahidi mwingine akiwa ni Kinyua, hii sheria imekiukwa. Na ni jambo la aibu kuona seneta mwingine anaweza mbele ya watu kutoka sehemu mbalimbali za taifa, ikiwa mimi naweza kusimama hapa na ndugu yangu wakili yuko hapa, alafu niongee juu yake kwa njia ambayo si sawa, ili Wakenya wengine wapate kujua. Mimi namheshimu sana wakili, namheshimu sana Lelegwe, naheshimu sana Kiranja walio wengi, na mimi sijasikia hata siku moja Kiranja walio wengi amefanya tabia kama hiyo. Kwa hiyo Bwana Spika, nafikiria kitu kizuri ingekuwa sisi hatuwezi kuingiliana hapa, tufundishana heshima. Yes. Asante Bwana Spika.
What is your point of order, Sifuna?
Mr. Speaker, I am also a member of the Transport Committee, and the chair here is my friend. I am extremely disappointed that the statement that has been made on this floor has actually been made on this floor. Mr. Speaker, one of the things that is very frustrating for us as the minority side, Mr. Speaker, is that we agreed in this House that when somebody is on a point of order, they will be heard in silence. But I think there are people who are using that opportunity and abusing that opportunity that we agreed in order for us to have orderly debate to throw very, very insulting words against colleagues in this House, against people who are not in this House, Mr. Speaker. When we request that the Speaker insists on enforcing the rules by making sure that if somebody utters something, they must substantiate. Mr. Speaker, this afternoon, we have been told that we cannot speak about a court order that the Speaker has not seen. We brought the court order physically and tabled here. We tabled the ruling, Mr. Speaker. When Senator Khalwale stands up and says on the floor of this House that people who are supporters of Azimio or ODM have raided a meeting of a government agency and then stolen food or done what, without any substantiation. That's what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, you must substantiate. Stop heckling here, Khalwale. I can assure you, no government agency is going to hold any meeting anywhere where you are gouging on food bought by public resources, yet Kenyans are starving. Even in Kakamega, Khalwale, you will not hold a meeting of your staff, of your office, of anything, without Kenyans coming to avail themselves of that food. I can assure you. Number two, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, protect me, Mr. Speaker. I'm on a point of order. I am on a point of order, Mr. Speaker. I am on a point of order, Mr. Speaker. Protect me. I have to finish.
Conclude, Senator. Conclude.
I must finish. In fact,
let him conclude, senators.
In fact, as a senator of Nairobi, I want to tell any Kenyan that having seen the increase of the budgets for State House for buying tea and mandazi, that tea and mandazi is for Kenyans. Wherever you meet a government agency holding a meeting, go there and eat that food. That is your food, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, any person who has the right mind, you cannot go and hold a symposium on food right now, and you know Kenyans are starving, and you have brought food only for yourselves, and you think people will just sit there and look at you. They say a hungry man is an angry man, Mr. Speaker. Let me finish by speaking on this question of marginalization. I am on a point of order.
Conclude.
I am on a point of order.
Senators.
I will be heard in silence.
Senators, please.
I am on a point of order, Speaker.
Senators.
Yes. I want to demonstrate to you that you are abusing the points of order. And that's what I'm going to do. That's what you're going to do. Mr. Speaker, I am on the floor.
Senators, please take your seat.
I'm on a point of order.
Take your seat. Resume your seat. Senators, we want to hear everybody. Let the senator conclude, and then we hear who the second speaker is going to. We cannot be exchanging utterances like this, senators. Please, let us hear the senator and let him conclude. Senator Sifuna, please conclude.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. You have already ruled. Allow me to speak, Mr. Speaker. I want to tell Kenyans, anywhere, anytime, you hear there's a government agency, they are sitting somewhere drinking a tea mandazi, that's your money. Go and join them. That's what we want to see, because every time we speak about addressing the question of iniquity in this country, people don't want to listen. Khalwale, you are lucky that you come from Kakamega. There are roads there. At least there's a road. The people of Homa Bay, all they are asking, Mr. Speaker, is for one ferry. One ferry. Over the weekend, we took the maandamano, Mr. Speaker, to Kwale County, and we used the channel at Likoni. I saw a brand new ferry being utilized there by the people there. Are you telling us, Mr. Speaker, even the old ferries that I saw parked there, and they have taken somebody from Nandi or Sijui Rift Valley and made him the chair of KPA or Sijui the MD of KPA? Mr. Speaker,
Senator Sifuna.
That job.
One moment,
that
Senator
job.
Sifuna.
No, Mr.
Senators,
Speaker, I must conclude.
Please.
I must conclude. I'm on a point of order. I am on a point of order. I am on a point of order.
Senator Sifuna, resume your seat. Resume your seat.
I am on a point of order.
Resume your seat. Senator Sifuna, honorable senators, at this point I will have to end this debate or these points of order. Senator Sifuna, when you're referring to another senator, refer to him as a senator, not by their name. So please continue and conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am on a point of order. I am on a point of order. I'm being heckled throughout. Mr. Speaker, if this conduct was coming from me, already I would have been thrown out of this house. Can you protect me so that I am heard in silence? I need to be protected, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if this was Sifuna, he would have been thrown out of the house already. I cannot speak. I'm being heckled throughout. I'm being heckled by these hecklers.
Senators.
Mr. Speaker, this illegitimate government has sent somebody from Nandi to go and be the chair of Kenya Ports Authority, Mr. Speaker. Somebody with the same name as the president.
Senator Sifuna.
It's ridiculous. We
Senator
want
Sifuna.
to end this marginalization in this country.
Senator Sifuna. Senators. Senators. Senators, I am being... Senators. Senator Sifuna and Majority Leader, and Senator Sifuna, Senator Sifuna, Senator Cherargei, Senator Cherargei, Senator Sifuna, the chair is standing. Senator. Senators, seriously, at this point, Senator Cherargei, Majority Leader, please, Senators, at this point, I cannot even follow the proceedings. Senator Eddy, Senators, I really don't want to throw anybody out of the house, but at this point, I cannot have this point of orders to continue because it doesn't seem we're being able to listen to each other. So at this point, I will have to make a ruling on this issue. So Senators, honorable Senators, I have heard the contributions by the Senator, the Chair of Transport, and who has made his statement reporting the status of consideration of the petition presented by Senator Kajwang. The gist of it is that the committee has not concluded the consideration of the petition. And it has not concluded owing to the request by the Senator for Homa Bay to defer the visits. Senators, we know that the timelines provided in the standing orders is 60 days, and those 60 days have lapsed. That said and done, it does not stop the committee when the 60 days have passed to still continue on the matter. Honorable Senators, the time for consideration of the petition has lapsed, but there is precedence in the Senate where timelines have been extended. The chair is commended for his report, but there is nothing stopping the committee from proceeding with the visits at the appropriate time and tabling this report. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 8, motion, adoption of the report of the Joint Committee of the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Environment, Forestry and Mining, and the Senate Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources on the approval hearing for the nominees for the appointment as members of the National Climate Change Council.
Senator Chairperson, Land, Environment and Natural Resources. What is your point of order, Eddy? Eddy, I hope it's not on the same issue that I've ruled.
Mr. Speaker, protect me from goons in the regime the other side. Like this goon now is talking here.
Senator Eddy,
yeah.
you cannot refer to other members of this House as goons. Please
withdraw. He called me a goon.
Withdraw that. I heard it from you.
I want to plead that he called me a goon. So I thought it's a common language between me and him. So he's a goon as well.
Senator Eddy.
But I withdraw. I withdraw. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of order. Can you relax? Cherargei, what will you fail Matiang'i?
Senator Eddy, talk to the Speaker.
Mr. Speaker,
Talk to the Speaker.
I just rise to inquire that the substantive Speaker did indicate that he would give us 30 minutes so that he could be able to make a ruling on the previous matter. And looking at the time now, is way over 50 minutes. Why is it that, Mr. Speaker, people are heckling in this house?
Senators.
So, Mr. Speaker, is approaching 5:30, and that will be way beyond, like, it's almost an hour now. Can we have a guidance on this matter, because it is extremely important that we conclude on that business today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Eddy, you have concluded. I have protected Eddy. Can I talk? Senator Sifuna. Senator Sifuna. Senator Sifuna. No, Senator Sifuna. Senator Sifuna. You want me to enforce the rules? Senator Sifuna. Okay, get out. Get out, Sifuna. You can get out of the House. As per the standing orders, I have asked you. I will not tell you. Sergeant at Arms, get Senator Sifuna out of this House. Get out. Sifuna, you are rubbish yourself. Get out. He called me rubbish.
Point of order, you guys are destroying the Senate. How do you take this before being given? No.
Senators. Order, senators. Order, senators. Order, senators. Eddy. Senator Mgeni, what's your point of order?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, and my colleagues, honorable senators, you know, we can have differences here, but I plead with all of us that we try and have dignity. You know, the problem with what's happening nowadays is that with WhatsApp, whatever we are doing here could easily find its way out there. And you know, once information goes out there,
this house is going to be equated with some, I don't know, MCA somewhere. You know, we can always differ. And we want a house that is exciting, a house that is interesting, a house where we can challenge each other. But let's always remember that people are watching. I mean, even when things were so bad, Senator Halwale, during the Second World War, Roosevelt was able to sit down with Stalin, and they discussed and they came up with the UN, the League of Nations, that is there up to today. So let's agree on the rules of the game, the ground rules. When a speaker is on the chair, I plead. When the speaker is on the chair, I plead, let us give him respect. Because he's the one who guides deliberation, who moderates debate. Please. You know, the shouting across is okay, but I plead.
Let Senator be heard in silence, please.
Yeah, I plead, please, so that for posterity, Senator Cherargei, for posterity, we retain the dignity of this house. We have, Mr. Speaker, we have had senators who have argued their points with passion. I saw Senator, now CS, Murkomen, taking on Senior Counsel Rengo, but he was doing it within the rules. You know, he was doing it within the rules, and that's how it should be. I plead with us, even when we have differences, let us retain the dignity of this house. I plead with you, please, Mr. Speaker. I plead, Mr. Speaker, that in all our emotions, let us maintain the dignity of the house. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What's your point of order, Majority Leader?
Just for 10 seconds, two things that I want to say. I agree with everything Senator Omogeni has said. The only thing I want to humbly plead, Mr. Speaker, we can exchange with Senator Eddy as much as we want. He's my contemporary, he's my age mate, he's my friend. If I say, for example, things that he doesn't like, and I agree with Senator Omogeni that we be guided in what we say, that is between us as colleagues. The minute we begin, I have been in this house, for sure, Mr. Speaker, even in the worst of times when we never used to greet each other as colleagues, there is no time that a senator used to insult the speaker. That is the truth. You cannot run away. And Minority Leader, I want to plead with you, my brother. Teach Senator Sifuna how to behave in Parliament. This is not the only time he has abused the speaker. He has also equally abused the substantive speaker. That is not right. We can exchange as colleagues, that's fine. How many times does me and you trade things that we don't like, but we'll go outside and share a cup of tea? That is normal. It's part of parliamentary practice. But the habit of insulting the speaker, we should not encourage. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, Senator Omogeni said something that I agree with. And I want it to go on record to the people running Parliamentary Budget Office. No. Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit, PBU. They are the ones who share some of these clips, the things that Senator Omogeni is saying. Because nobody else has access to these clips. So I want to humbly plead with the clerk's table that is here, if there are certain things, you know, the reason why, and I was in PSC when we made the decision to allow PBU to be our own internal unit, because when we previously used to allow media to be the ones, they'd focus on non-issues. They'll beam on a senator sleeping or a slip of a tongue by the senator. So we say, let's have our own professional broadcasting unit that is within Parliament. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, every time nowadays when there are exchanges, the following day you will see the same clips being relayed, yet the broadcasting belongs to this particular house. So I want to humbly plead with Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit. I have forgotten the name of the head, but the reason why we kept PBU inside the House of Parliament is that so that you focus on the core business, not to be sharing clips sometimes of members in unfortunate exchanges that are not helpful to Kenyans. So I don't expect the clip that has been seen, for example, today between members, one or two things saying to each other, to be found outside there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minority Leader.
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, nataka kukubaliana na ndugu yangu Aaron alivyosema 100% kwamba yuko sawa. Na mimi leo Bwana Spika, ningependa uwe na moyo mkunjufu, moyo mkubwa kama spika wetu. Ninaelewa ya kwamba tulivyofanya hapa, yale maneno yote tuliyofanya hapa, si ya usawa kulinganishana na wewe ukiwa umeketi kwenye kiti. Bwana Spika, mengi ndugu wakiketi ama katika hafla yetu kama hii ya masenators kuwa katika mjadala, ni lazima sengine tutakosoana mdomo. Kwa hiyo kama imefanyika ni bahati mbaya, hatukutarajia kwamba itafika hapo. Kwa hiyo Bwana Spika, kitu tunataka kusema kwa ndugu zangu ni kwamba leo tumekosea hii nyumba. Huo ndio ukweli wa mambo. Sote upande ule upande huu tumekosea. Tumekosa. Na lazima tukubaliane ya kwamba maneno yaliyopelekwa pande ile na pande ile, mengine mimi siwezi kutamka kwa sababu ya vile ninavyofikiria kwamba ikiwa wale wako nyumbani na wale wanafunzi ambao wanakuja hapa wanaona mtu kama Boni Halwale, wanamuona Mazayo, wanaona Aaron Cheriot, wanaona kijana mshupavu wakili, tukiwa tunapeana maneno kama hayo, Bwana Spika, yote piga moyo konde, yaweke nyuma. Na najua katika ile hasira, ukiwa kama kinara katika hii nyumba, najua utaweza kutoa uamuzi. Kama vile katika ile hasira iliyokuja kwa ghafla, na wewe ni binadamu pia. Hakuna mtu anaweza kukuita hivyo na wewe usimuite. Kwa hiyo yeye akiwa ameenda kidogo pande ambao umezidi, mimi ningeomba hiyo, hata ile pengine vile ulivyotamka, pengine useme okay, ilikuwa katika ile spur of a moment. Lakini yote hao tuliyofanya, mimi nasema tuyaweke nyuma, tugange yale yanayokuja. Kwa ndugu zangu, mimi naweza sema kwa pande zote mbili, lazima tuonyeshe mfano. Kila siku watu wanakuja hapa wakituona, wanaoketi pale, wanaoangalia ndani ya nyumba kwa runinga, wanaoangalia katika mahall makubwa makubwa. Sisi kama mfano, please, I plead with you, let's use good language. Let's use parliamentary language so that we can at least save this house. We are bado tunaendelea, hata pole natumia lugha mbili, lakini tunaendelea kudidimia chini kiheshima. Ningesema sote tuwe kitu kimoja ili tuweke heshima ya nyumba hii ya Senate, kwa sababu sio sisi peke yake wa mwisho kukaa hapa ndani. Vizazi na vizazi vitakuja kukaa hapa, na lazima tuweke msingi wa heshima nzuri tunayopeana katika hii nyumba yetu ya Senate. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Senator Boni Halwale.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise on standing order number 123 to move the following motion. That Senator Sifuna Watenya be suspended from the service of the Senate. Mr. Speaker, this is a standing order that was grafted to speak to what we have witnessed today. And Mr. Speaker, because this motion doesn't require substantiation, Mr. Speaker, allow me to say one thing in the footsteps of the Senator of Nyamira. Senators who are shouting at me, I respect you, and I cannot expect you to respect me. But let me tell you, amongst you are lawyers. I am the only member of parliament in the Republic of Kenya who has been decorated by the Law Society of Kenya. I've been awarded the highest award of respect, the Father Kaiser Award. I have been decorated, Mr. Speaker, by the International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA. Mr. Speaker, I want to appeal, without naming names, to the young senators I'm seeing in the House, including Okech, including Sifuna, including Ladema, to make time and swallow your pride and learn from us. It is not by accident
that we have this number of years behind us in experience. It's not by design, by accident, Mr. Speaker, that we have this many years of traversing the globe. Mr. Speaker, if you do not apply Standing Order number 123 through my motion, we will have lost this House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sorry, Mr. Speaker, before you give the Honorable Ledama on his standing order, I request Senator Kinyua, the Commissioner, to second my motion that Senator Sifuna.
One moment. Senator Olekina, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to beseech my colleagues. Mr. Speaker, I would like to beseech my colleagues that we are mature men and women in this House. A few weeks ago, I mentioned to the majority leader that if these things proceed the way they are proceeding, he himself is losing this House. Mr. Speaker, I've sat here and I've been very, very calm today. I've listened, and I've listened to the majority whip. The majority whip has constantly used unparliamentary language. Mr. Speaker, the majority whip has also tried to rewrite our standing orders by standing and saying, I'm moving a motion under Standing Order number 123. Mr. Speaker, we have to give respect. And I've listened to the majority whip saying that the young senators, please learn from our wisdom. But my question that I want to ask is that, does that learning also equate to rewriting standing orders that are not in existence? Mr. Speaker, you know, I don't want us to get into a point where we are now directing the chair. But I want to follow the words of wisdom of Senator Madzayo. I want to beseech you, Mr. Speaker, that with all these emotions, I want to take full responsibility for what has happened on our side and request us to maintain decorum in this House. That is the only time that will be seen as being different. This shouting back and forth is not going to help us. Yes, we are all human beings. We're people who lose our cool at any given time. But, Mr. Speaker, being directed, and I know maybe what my colleague said may not be parliamentary, but having a situation where the chair and a senator exchange words, it really beats the purposes why we should be in this House in the first place. So, Mr. Speaker, and I hope, Mr. Speaker, you can give me an ear. Minority Leader, can you please allow the Speaker to hear? Senator Madzayo. Senator Madzayo, please. Senator Madzayo. Senator Madzayo, please. Mr. Speaker, just give me your ear for 3 minutes. Yeah, because I've been interrupted. The minority leader has been talking to you. I want to beseech you. I want to beseech you, Mr. Speaker. I want to beseech you, Mr. Speaker, not to let the actions of a spur of a moment dictate how you're going to deal with this matter. You've been invited by the majority side through a very unprocedural way to effect Standing Order number 123. My plea to you as a colleague is that you let the bygones be bygones. Let us learn from our mistakes and let us find a way that we can be able to cool down these temperatures. We all need each other. And any given time when a senator is not seated here, because of spur of the moment actions, the people that he or she represents end up suffering. So, Mr. Speaker, today, the whole day, I mean, it's 5:32. You know, we are still waiting for the Speaker to come back. But the whole day, really, we have not discussed. There was a motion, I know, of Kenyans who are still seeking compensation from the bomb of 1998. We have issues of electricity. Senator Chute discussed that issue. But do you really want to tell me, and this is to all of you, my colleagues, do you want to tell me that we'll reduce the 2.5 hours that we have in the Senate to be a time when we can just be bickering and hallowing insults and calling each other's names? I am really, really disappointed. I'm ashamed of this House today. I'm really ashamed of this House. And I want to request my colleagues, please, let us act our age. Today we are not acting our age. Today we are insulting each other back and forth. You know, it is not helping us. I said I take full responsibility on what happened on our side, and I want to request you, Mr. Speaker, to let it bygone. They are highly regretted, and the only way we can remain as one House, Mr. Speaker, is when we learn to tolerate one another. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator, I am following an order on the screen. Senator Cherargei, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I think Senator Ledama should listen because he was also imploring to have. Mr. Speaker, sound standing order number 1 and looking the motion that Senator Boni Khalwale has brought under section 123. Mr. Speaker, what happens is that I only beg of you, Speaker, with all humility, it is that at that moment, the Senator Sifuna should have been invited to apologize and withdraw, which did not happen. Speaker, looking at the emotions and agreeing that this thing has generated, Mr. Speaker, and we know also you are a human being. We know you have powers of standing order number 1. We don't want to take to the House to the extreme end, Mr. Speaker, but in as much as Senator Ledama pleads with you to let bygones bygone, then, Mr. Speaker, there should some level of remorse so that even as you take a decision whether to dispense off with Senator Boni Khalwale's motion as per section 123, Mr. Speaker. No, I'm just you allow me to finish. I'm in fact in line with what you are saying. No, it is. Let me invite you, Senator Eddy, and you know you are my friend. Article section 120, senior counsel. Can you do your job? You did it well when I was in remand. Can you please continue? Understanding order number 123 is that, Mr. Speaker, and standing order number 1, I know, Mr. Speaker, we are also human. There might have been that altercation, but looking at the unity of the House, and Mr. Speaker, I've seen you have invited that for Kamukunji tomorrow. These are some of the things we can discuss in camera. We are one House, Mr. Speaker. I know the motion of standing order 123 is too harsh. Mr. Speaker, I know the standard procedure of the House, Mr. Speaker, should have to invite Senator Sifuna to withdraw and apologize, which was not done, Mr. Speaker. I think because of the emotions, Mr. Speaker, the standard should have been, Mr. Speaker, I know you are consulting the House leadership, the 2 wise men, Mr. Speaker, the 2 wise men. Okay. Mr. Speaker, I wanted you to listen to this because you are also human. And I agree with the wisdom of both majority and minority leader. I know this is something we can agree, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the standard procedure would have been that Senator Sifuna, and I'm not playing devil's advocate, should have been given a chance to withdraw and apologize, which did not happen because, of course, we understand you are human and the House was degenerating, Mr. Speaker. That should have been the procedure. Number 2, even if we were to agree with the minority side, there should be some level of remorse because you are also human, Mr. Speaker. They should have been able of remorse so that we invite you to invoke under starting order number 1. Finally, Mr. Speaker, looking at the motion that my brother Senator Boni Khalwale
the bullfighter has come up with, Mr. Speaker, I think at this point it is too harsh, in my own opinion, because we are one house. We want to work together as a house of union so that we can move forward, Mr. Speaker. So that, Mr. Speaker, can you protect me from the Senate Majority Leader, Mr. Speaker?
Conclude, please, Senator.
Yeah, Majority Leader, Senate Majority Leader, Mr. Speaker, protect him from and also Commissioner of PSC. You know, Mr. Speaker, the chairperson, the Commissioner of PSC is happy. He has been allocated 40 billion for Parliament. So, Mr. Speaker, what I'm just saying in conclusion, in my own opinion, I know an excuse of ignorance of the law is no excuse. But looking at the unity where we want to go as a Senate, coming together, the House of Union, Mr. Speaker, let us also, Mr. Speaker, you can sue your wisdom, understanding on the number one, but I can invite, Mr. Speaker, because the House is becoming imechemuka, ground imechemuka, maybe tomorrow, Mr. Speaker, during the Kamukunji at around 10, I think 10 a.m., these are things we can discuss in camera because, Mr. Speaker, we don't want to generate where you are insulting the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, please, those are my humble submissions. Let us move forward as a one house. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wambua.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I will go straight to respond to the motion that was moved by Senator Alwale. And he knows it. He is the father of this book. We should be learning from him. The Speaker, clearly and outrightly, he can't do what he has done. He has purported to have done. Standing Order 123. It begins with naming a senator. It is after the senator has been named by the Speaker, not by a member. The member will request the Speaker to name a member. It is after the Speaker has named a member that then the other processes will follow. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I have only added today that you can name or purport to move a motion under 123 after the senator has already been kicked out by the Speaker. So then we put ourselves in a situation that we don't know what to do. Do we recall the member? What happens? The Speaker, that be as it may. Before the senator for Kakamega, a man we truly respect, moved that motion, Mr. Speaker, there was bitter exchange. I saw the senator for Kakamega exchange with the senator for Nairobi. I saw my colleagues here, including myself, exchange with colleagues on the other side. So now if we were to go that route, I don't know who will be left in this house, Mr. Speaker. There will be no house. Mr. Speaker, there will be no house. Today, Mr. Speaker, the respect to that chair, greatest respect to that chair and to yourself, Mr. Speaker. I saw you exchange one-on-one with a member and call each other names, Mr. Speaker. I saw that with my eyes today. Mr. Speaker, we have a Senate, and I'll keep saying this. We have a Senate to take care of. And I say that to all of us, including myself. We have a Senate to take care of. The Speaker, what has happened today, I hope it will never happen again. Senator Kiambu and Majority Leader, it's okay, we have said it before. We would say it as many times as we have to say it until we restore order in this house. The Speaker, with those many remarks, I see my leader is beckoning you to do something. These days it is what it is, Mr. Speaker. It is what it is. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sigei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We will only restore the dignity of this House when we take responsibility of our actions. We will be able to be a sober House when we are responsible, even before we take the mic to speak to anything that we are dealing with in the House. Mr. Speaker, I've watched this afternoon the proceedings. I have listened to my colleagues. It is not lost in any of us that we can all afford to speak. But what are we speaking to? What are we speaking about? Senate has all along been seen to be a house of sobriety, a house where decorum is exhibited by the members. But today, Mr. Speaker, that was not the case. The exchanges among the members is making it worse by the extent of what I'm listening to from my colleagues from the minority side. It might be that the exchanges went beyond what is expected. Who takes responsibility? Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Senator Boni Halwale has moved a motion under Standing Order 123 as to whether or not a member ought to have been named prior to that. You have been asked to enforce the rules of the House. How do we then enforce the rules of the House when members are saying we are not taking responsibility for our actions? Mr. Speaker, it is not the best experience that we have had in this House today. It is not an excuse to say it's the heat of the moment. I believe in taking responsibility myself. I want to beseech members of this House to also sit back, search themselves, think through what has happened in this House so that we restore the House of the Senate where it belongs. If we do not, we are going to lose the status of this House. We are going to lose this House. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mgeni.
Mr. Speaker, I would have liked to make my contributions when Senator Halwale is in the House, but I can proceed. Mr. Speaker, I've already made my views on what happened this afternoon, which is regrettable. And we all know, Mr. Speaker, that before there is calm, there is always a storm. You know, there is always a storm. And the way Majority Leader is beckoning to me, when a flight is taking off, there's always turbulence. You always have turbulence. But Speaker, Mr. Speaker, after turbulence, there will always be calm, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't know whether, that's why I wanted Senator Halwale to be here. I don't know whether in the history of Parliament, not the Senate, in the history of Parliament, I don't know whether there is any elected member who has stood up to invoke Article 123 against another member. Standing Order 123. In the history of Parliament, the Parliament of Kenya, I don't think there is any senator or any elected member of Parliament who has ever invoked that standing order against his colleague. So I want to ask Senator Halwale to reflect and be calm, Mr. Speaker, because, you know, we are setting precedents. And me, Mr. Speaker, I've gone 360 degrees in my professional career. The oppressed have come to me as a lawyer, and I've represented them. Those who are in power have also come to me to represent them. So when you are digging a hole, warn yourself that tomorrow you may enter the same hole. Mr. Speaker, if we set a precedent where we, as colleagues, want to, you know, let me use the word finish. We want to invoke standing orders to finish our colleagues, that is being over-emotional. These disagreements do happen. And for some of us who were in this parliament last time, we saw them. I mentioned
the way I used to see serious exchanges between Senator Orengo and the Senator Murkomen. But there is a way the Speaker would always guide the deliberations. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to appeal to Senator Halwale not to set a precedent where tomorrow, if I see Senator Cheragei, and I saw him a bit emotional some 3 months ago, if he becomes emotional, I invoke Standing Order 123. Because tomorrow we may not greet each other. We will now convert this house into a house of enemies. And that's not what we want to do. We have Muslims here, Mr. Speaker. We have people who are Christians here, Mr. Speaker. And we know, the Bible says, we have all sinned and fallen short of God's glory. That's what the Bible says. So I think the punishment that has been meted out on Senator Sifuna, as Senator Cheragei has put it this afternoon, he was not even warned. And the standing orders dictate that before you eject him, you warn him first. If he persists, then you evict him. So already, Senator, please, already he has received punishment. That's enough. And we are trying to engage, we are trying to discuss, we want to restore calm and run our businesses. The way PLO Lumumba normally says, don't respond to a mosquito bite with a hammer. Don't go for an overkill. We will set a bad precedent because this is a house of record. You invoke it today against Senator Sifuna. I assure you, senators, tomorrow it will be you. The last parliament, Senator Cheriot, you can correct me, I think we only had one expulsion from the house. Only one, for a record of 5 years. Only Senator Malala was sent out for the remainder of the day. I think we have now done six expulsions. We are not doing so well. So since I think if you read standing order, I think number 122, you know, before you even call a senator, it says on the first occasion, you send him away for 3 sittings. If he becomes very disorderly on a second or subsequent occasion during the same session, you now take it up 7 days. Now, if another time he again persists, then now we can invite Senator Halwale to invoke Standing Order 123. But I plead, you know, Senator Halwale is from Kakamega. Senator Sifuna is a senator of Nairobi, but he's his neighbor from Bungoma. Let's not be reactive. It's good to, you know, it's good to express our anger. That's okay, we are human. But let us also not overreact. So I urge you, Speaker, we have already apologized for what has happened this afternoon. Some of us are new in this house. We are learning. Accept, you're also human. I know how you feel when there are these exchanges. It's not good for you. But you are a son of a very respected elder, Senator, the late Mzee Yusuf Haji. And you know, when we had serious disagreements here on, you remember revenue, we used to defer to him. He's the one who used to guide us and calm us, and he used to restore us. So, like father, like son, calm down, Mr. Speaker, sir. You have already punished the Senator Sifuna. We move on so that we become each other's keeper. Today it's me, tomorrow it will be you. I submit, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator, there seems to be a lot of interest on this matter. I will only allow 2 more speakers, one from the majority side and one from minority side. And they will only have 3 minutes. Please, can we have Senator Esther Nyeni?
Mr. Speaker, while I heed to the advice of some of the ranking members in this House, and of course also take the apology, I am disturbed by some few issues I would like to mention. Young legislators and new legislators in that matter have been mentioned widely. I believe I'm one of the young legislators who is very composed and rational in my way of operations in this house. But I do not like a situation where we can actually debate to an extent of saying that this is an illegitimate government, whereby a government that was elected by the people and IBC went ahead to declare. The same was challenged at the Supreme Court, and no one had issues about that. And as honorable members, we can engage and insult colleagues to that extent. We are the same people who have been complaining about business issues in this house taking long to be addressed. And we keep on buying time in this kind of engagements. It's not the first time members are apologizing. If I remember the other time, Senator Kathuri Murungi was seated there, the same happened. He was actually pointed at. So we will not keep doing these similar actions and apologizing. That is going to be a culture. Senator Omogeni, I heed to your advice, but as a young legislator, I want to actually differ with that bit that yes, some of the ranking members or members who are elected with very many numbers of votes can still insult others and still get away with it in the name of apology. We really need to relook our ways of operations. I rarely speak during such times, but on this occasion I had to speak because young legislators cannot be bundled up together to be people who are on a learning curve and showing a matter of not having decorum, while some of us have actually been carrying ourselves with a high level of esteem and engagement to our colleagues. So while I also heed to the advice by the majority leader, Senator Aaron Cheruiyot, that we should actually rethink on how we are carrying ourselves in this house, I also want to say that it's not just about apologizing